What's going on, boxing heads? PYP Boxing is back, and we're discussing the fights we saw with a couple of legends this weekend, one being Nonito Donaire and the other being Francisco El Gallo Estrada. We'll be discussing the Hitchins card with Andy Cruz as well, so let's get it on. First on the docket, Nonito Donaire at 42 years old, 686 days after he was last in the ring and lost versus Alejandro Santiago, fought and defeated Andres Campos of Chile by technical decision due to an accidental headbutt. With the win, Nonito becomes the WBA interim bantamweight champion. Mark, what's your take on Donaire beating Campos for this interim title?
I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the fight. I was excited earlier this week when I heard about the fight because I already knew Francisco Estrada was fighting as well, and that could lead up to something, right? What I didn't know is that he ended up fighting for the WBA interim title. I didn't know that was happening. Obviously, he's been out for a while, but he got the shot. Made me a little bit more excited, man, because now we can get some pretty fun matchups at 118, because we all know Junto Nakatani is leaving in December, and you got big matchups for him. But now you've changed my mind a little bit. I was just thinking it was going to be a fun division for him, but you're correct. You told me this a little bit ago. He won the interim winning this fight. So now he may be up for a title match. I don't like that for him. I'd like him to fight either the number 2 or the number 3 guy in that division, which would be Tenshin or Diego Haiga or even Takuma Inoue. But, you know, it is what it is. As far as what he looked like, David, I was impressed that a 42-year-old guy can still have that timing, the smarts, the know-how. And you know what? The hand speed is still there. And all of that helped him beat a game opponent like Campos. He was shutting him out, Dave. Although he was getting a little bit hot later. We don't know what would have happened. I think if the young guy would have stopped being dirty, headbutting this guy, he was trying all the dirty tactics in the book. You have to with a guy like Nonito, who he didn't have the power, man. And that worries me for his future in this. But his timing is still there. The speed is still there. And he's a 42-year-old champion, David. And he beat a 28-year-old young opponent. Nobody can take that from him. Once again, a world champion. Congratulations, Nonito Donaire. Now we can see some fun matchups at 118 pounds. Possibly with Gallo. Who wouldn't want to see two legends, man? I'm up for that. I don't know, Dave. Are you up for that?
I think that would be an interesting fight. But I don't think I saw what you saw last night. And the saying is actually the last thing to go is power. When you see aging fighters, they lose their speed, they lose their timing, they lose their reflexes, but they still hold their power. We didn't get to see if Nonito still has his power versus Campos. The fight ended prematurely. But I didn't see the timing and the speed that you saw. I saw more of what the Nonito that we saw versus Alejandro Santiago. That's the Nonito I still saw in that ring. He's still an aging fighter to me. And I have several problems with this fight. We have yet another example of a fighter coming off of a loss and a long layoff, skipping the line ahead of more active and worthy fighters and getting a title shot. I don't know why this is becoming a trend in boxing, but it's a problem. Fighters shouldn't be coming off of losses and getting title shots. That's ridiculous, right? Nonito Donaire hadn't won a fight since 2021. And that's not the only thing that bothers me about this. Campos hasn't fought as a bantamweight since 2022. And he's mostly campaigned at flyweight or super fly. Now, I'm not going to blame either of these fighters for taking this opportunity. You know, you're looking at a payday and a chance to become a title holder and earn at least another payday after that. Who wouldn't take that chance? But with that said, to me, it just looked like Donaire is no longer the version that we used to know and love. I mean, he's still a great ambassador for the sport, Mark. As you said, he's a friend of boxing. He's very good for the sport. But he's not that same guy that we saw against Naoya Inoue back in 2018. That's not him anymore. He's not that guy that knocked out Fernando Montiel. Versus Campos, a much smaller fighter, just Donaire still had a hard time pulling the trigger. I don't like his prospects at 118 pounds at this point. I think there are a lot better fighters at 118, but I wish him luck. You know, we're big Nonito fans. We've been Nonito Donaire fans for a long time, but the guy retired, and he retired for a reason. I still see the same guy who retired that night back in 2023. But we'll see what happens, man. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a legend has proved everybody wrong, right? Moving on, the 35-year-old former champion Gallo Estrada made his debut at 118, defeating the 27-year-old from Los Mochis, Karim Arce, by scores of 100 to 87, 99 to 88, and 98 to 89. Arce suffered 3 knockdowns on the way to losing this fight. Mark, it was 30 months since Gallo's last win. Estrada is now 45-4 with 28 KOs. He's looking to become a 3-division champ now at 118 pounds. What does the future of Gallo Estrada look like at 118?
Great, man. Big money fights all over the place. And I loved what he looked like. He came out and he showed he didn't lose anything. It was a dominating performance, sniper-like performance. He was accurate as hell. His power is still there. His power was there late in the 10th round. He knocked this guy down twice in the 10th round. I mean, he's got it all. The skills, everything is there. I mean, we talked about Nonito losing a few things. I think he lost power. You think he lost a few other things. Juan Francisco Estrada has not lost anything. The fighter from Sonora has a big future at 118. I see him giving everybody hell in this division. Does he beat them? I don't know, but it's going to be fun fights. You got Emmanuel Rodriguez there. Jason Maloney's there. Yes, you have Takuma Inoue. He's a big enough name, and it's been proven. We're talking about it. He gets 1 or 2 wins, maybe against an Emmanuel Rodriguez and a Maloney or something, and they'll put him right up there for a championship. He's already ranked number 2 in the WBC after yesterday's performance. He's number 11 in another, and I don't think he's a part of the other organizations, but I see big stuff for him. Now that Junto Nakatani is leaving, this is going to be a fun division, man. And Gallo Estrada is going to give anybody hell in this division. And Bam is coming back. We may see him introduce Bam into the division next year.
That's true, because Bam is looking to unify at 115. He's still got some time to go. Gallo may be trying to gun for a title himself, and we know Bam is going to be moving up to 118 as soon as he's finished with the 115-pound division. Yeah, Mark, I think 118, you're right. 118 is open after Junto leaves. And we know that he's on his way out. He's obviously targeting a Naoya Inoue fight. Don't forget about Tenshin Nasukawa, who is also in that division. He's ranked pretty highly in a lot of the organizations. He is number 2 in the WBO. He's number 1 in the WBC. And number 2 in the WBA. So Tenshin is up there as well. That's a big name for Gallo. Takuma Inoue could be a good fight, someone to target for Gallo as well. I'm okay with Gallo coming back and looking a little refreshed at 118 pounds. We'll see how much the 35-year-old still has. I think it's still a question mark for me. He wasn't in there with a live guy with Arce. But we'll see what the future holds for Gallo at 118 pounds. Moving on to the Matchroom card, Richardson Hitchins in U.S. action dominated Australian George Kambosos in NYC. Hitchins stopped Kambosos in the 8th round. Hitchins must have watched some Loma tape versus Kambosos, Mark, because he attacked that body and dropped Kambosos twice with left hooks to the liver. To me, I saw more of the same from Hitchins in this fight. Heavy use of the jab, the occasional right hand. The left hook to the body was a nice thing to see. I like that he threw that in there. But this felt more like it was about Kambosos not being good enough to win than Hitchins' performance. What did you think of the fight?
No. Just the opposite, man. I think just the opposite. I think Richard Hitchins is the real deal. I feel the way I felt about Haney back maybe 18, 24 months ago when we just started this, and Haney was just coming off Jorge Linares, just coming off beating the legendary Lomachenko, and he was on this rise. And I thought everything about Haney. Well, it's happening again, man. I think this same way of Richardson Hitchins. This guy is absolutely fabulous. The jab is fantastic. I mean, it's great, David. And you know what? The fight before this, when he won the title, I think he knew and found out in that moment that he put it all together, because he's not just a 1-2 guy anymore. He's using that great jab, bringing that right when he wants to bring it, but now he's opening up with more creative combinations, more to the body, and he's a body snatcher. He's an absolute sniper. He beat a Kambosos who's been in there with Haney. He's been in there with a Lomachenko. He was in with a well-seasoned, great fighter. He is that good. He made Kambosos look that bad, David. This guy's the real deal. I was wrong on Haney. I won't be wrong on this guy. He's going to take over the 140 division. That's what I think. Let me tell you who I'd love to see him with. Anybody, David. Anybody. And I think his toughest opponent will be Tio. I got to really think about that one. But he's bad, David. He's a bad boy.
Folks, if you're new to the channel, just know that when Mark gets excited about a fighter, he gets really excited about a fighter. Just look, I'm not saying that Hitchins is not a good fighter. He is. He's a very good fighter. But I think you're jumping the well a little bit high. You're getting a little too excited about what he did versus Kambosos. You've got to remember what Kambosos did against Teofimo Lopez. That was back in 2021, bro. And then don't forget, when he fought Haney, you said he fought Haney, right? He got blanked by Haney twice in his own home country. And then he lost. For all intents and purposes, he lost versus Maxie Hughes. He did not win that fight. Mark, it is very easy to say, since the Teofimo fight, Kambosos has lost four fights in a row, okay? And then he had this little comeback fight versus who did he fight in Australia? Jake Wiley. Fought some guy in Australia named Jake Wiley. Went 12 rounds with him. That was his last win. So he's like 1-4 since he fought Teofimo Lopez. Calm down a little bit with the hype train. But you're not wrong about Hitchins being a good fighter. I think he is. He's going to be tough to beat. My problem is, do we want to see it? I would be down for a Hitchins versus Teofimo fight. We know that Teofimo Lopez has problems with movers. Hitchins will exploit that for sure. Just 140 has lost a lot of star power to me. A lot of the guys in the division that we thought we were going to see are gone now. The Ryan Garcia's gone. Devin Haney's gone. Now you have Alberto Puello, who's a title holder there.
Gary Russell.
Hitchins. You still have Sandor Martin, who isn't the most exciting guy either. Liam Paro, pretty good fighter. Subriel Matias still could make some things interesting in that division. Gary Antoine Russell as well.
It's a big division, though, yeah.
It's still a solid division, but it doesn't have the star power. And Teofimo Lopez is already talking about moving up to welterweight as well, so we may not even see him around much too longer. But yeah, we'll see what's up. We'll see what happens with Hitchins.
How about that call out, man? That was probably top 10 call outs of all time right there with the Haney.
That would be the worst fight in history.
No,
I do not want to see Hitchins versus Haney. I don't want to see that. I will pay money to not see that fight. I would. Let's start a GoFundMe. Hey, people, hear me out here. Let's start a GoFundMe. We'll pay Hitchins to not fight Devin Haney. Can we do that? Because I don't want to see that. That's going to be a terrible fight. Moving on. On the undercard, we had former Cuban amateur standout Andy Cruz stopped Hironori Mishiro in the 5th round. Mark, it was nice to see Cruz get aggressive and put his offensive skills on display, but I hate to be the party pooper here. Let's be real. Mishiro was a very limited guy, and he was even contemplating retiring from boxing not too long ago. Cruz is now targeting the IBF champion Raymond Murataya, the newly crowned IBF champ. He was the interim title holder, but now with Lomachenko retiring, Murataya is now the full IBF champion at 135 pounds. What did you think of Cruz? And what do you think a fight between Cruz and Murataya will look like?
I enjoyed watching Cruz, but I watched Cruz because of what we're watching Cruz for. A growing, developing kid, and we want to see how he is. It's not a big, impressive win. This Japanese gentleman that he fought has only fought in Japan. And we all know in Japan, these bigger weight classes is not their thing. As a matter of fact, on Thursday, if that gentleman beats Brian Norman in Japan, he'll be the first 147 champ of all time in Japan. So they're not big from 130 and up. And there's not a lot of talent over in Japan in that division. And he's good over there. So this is not anything I'm impressed with, but he showed he's dominant. He showed everything, all the skills, the speed, the thing that really impressed me is his ability to put together that Cuban Philly shell style. It looks pretty badass, and you can tell he's doing it both. I don't think he's doing it at the same time, but he's using both of those styles, and I like it. I would be more impressed if I saw him against a Tevin Farmer, a Kid Austin, even a Macayo, who's number 4 in the WBA, and we interviewed him, David. That's coming out in a bit next week. But I don't want to see him against a Shakur Stevens or a Gervonta. I guess the IBF champion, Murataya, is a good – I'd like to see him. I think that's a 50-50 fight. That'll give us a better idea of where he is. But even if he beats a Murataya, it's not a real strong champion that he beats either, David. Would you agree?
No, and I don't think a lot of the champions at 135 are. I mean, you still have Shakur with the WBC, but he's going to be fighting Cepeda pretty soon. Then Keyshawn Davis is now done. He's no longer champion of the WBO, and Abdullah Mason will be fighting for that title now. You do have Gervonta Davis, who is looking to be out of the sport soon anyway. I don't take his title reign very seriously. So 135 looks pretty wide open to me. I think Murataya will far and away be the best fighter Andy Cruz has fought since. It's going to be a step-up fight for Andy Cruz. I'm still not that impressed with Murataya, or at least his last few performances. But the guy can pop. He can crack. He's got some boxing skills. He's got a good trainer. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to prove a lot should Andy Cruz beat Raymond Murataya. And then after that, you've got some interesting fights. Abdullah Mason is going to be there, and he's got a tough bout himself. There's no gimme. He's got he could possibly face Sam Noakes. It's a UK fighter. I know you're not big on UK fighters, Mark, but this guy has a pretty impressive knockout record. Good. Yeah, I want to look more into him because it looks like Mason and that guy will be fighting for the WBO belt now that Keyshawn is out. So 135 still looks interesting to me. I don't think Shakur is going to be moving up anytime soon, so we'll still be dealing with him and the winner of William Cepeda. But to answer the question, yeah, I think it would be a good win for Cruz should he beat Murataya.
What do you think about the WBA belt, David, with Gervonta Davis? Rumors are after the Chavez fight, Jake Paul, if he does win, would probably go ahead and make that Gervonta Davis fight. Should the WBA start thinking of maybe, taking that belt away from him if he goes that route?
I don't know. It would depend on, is he due a mandatory? Like what the mandatory status? I don't know what the mandatory status is for that belt.
Let me tell you the rankings there. You got Gervonta Davis as the champion. You got Cepeda's number 1. Floyd Schofield's number 2 in the WBA. Then you got Andy Cruz. And then number 4 is Vladimir Macayo. That's what that looks like. So Cepeda looks like he's going to be busy. The next guy behind Cepeda would be Floyd Schofield, who's also going to be busy. So it would be Andy Cruz or Vladimir Macayo. I spoke to Vladimir. He seems to believe he's going to be up next because everybody's busy. And Gervonta may take that Jake Paul. And
again, the WBA stands for We Back Al. Okay, they back Al Heyman. They're not gonna force Gervonta Davis's hand on anything as long as he's still with Al Heyman. So I don't
So
think
we
there's
may
anything
see
to work.
that belt tied up for a while if Jake Paul beats Julio Cesar Chavez. So
I
the
think that's I think that's just a terrible, stupid fight. Don't you, man?
I
Gervonta
actually like,
Davis is already small for a
yeah, that's
135
retarded.
pounder, and to fight a cruiserweight in Jake Paul, I think that's ridiculous. It's gonna look ridiculous on the screen, and
It's going to put a stranglehold in the 135 WBA division for a while.
well, I mean, for a while, because if Gervonta gets knocked the fuck out like he's supposed to be versus a cruiserweight,
Yeah.
I don't know. That has to be a total farce of a fight, man. I don't know that they're gonna go into that seriously trying to hurt each other, because I don't know who would even allow it. Who would even allow that fight to happen with the discrepancy in weight like that? That's just crazy to me. They're gonna get paid for it. They're gonna get paid for it by all means. Get
This
your
all
money.
goes back to why you don't think much of the 135 division.
Well, no, I think it's
Yeah.
okay. I think it's in good
Yeah.
hands. I mean, you still got Lamont Roach. I don't think Lamont Roach is going to go back down to 130.
Yeah.
Depending on how he does against Gervonta, Gervonta still has to get past Roach. So we're not even sure that what that's going to look like. He should have lost that fight. I'm still to this day going to say that. Should have lost that fight. And so Lamont Roach should be the WBA champion right now. So Lamont Roach is in the mix. You still have Shakur Stevenson. You still have William Cepeda. Abdullah Mason's on the come up. It's still an interesting division.
All right.
Well, Mark, that's it for this episode, PYP Boxing. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be sure to come back at you with another video. Don't forget to like and let us know in the comments what you thought of these fights. Do you think Hitchins is the truth? Is he like our boy Mark over here? Do you think Hitchins is the man of the 140-pound division right now? And what do you think of Andy Cruz? Is he going to take over 135? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.